structured data is the language of business and unstructured data is the language of relationships. So building on what Erik said, the back office is all structured data, right? And the front office is emails and conversations and Zoom calls and text messages and all the back and forth that happens between you and your customer. And just a plug for AI, what AI can start to do is make sense of that unstructured data so you can put it in the context of the overall business.
In manufacturing, most revenue isn't lost because of bad work. It's lost because of missed follow-ups, scattered information, and opportunities that quietly fall through the cracks. Welcome to the Manufacturing Connector. I'm your host, Jim Mayer. Today, we're talking about something every manufacturer deals with, but very few have it fully figured out. How to manage customer relationships and sales in a way that drives growth. I'm joined by David Roberts and Erik Taverna from SugarCRM to break down how manufacturers can simplify complexity, prioritize the right opportunities, and grow using the data they already have. David and Erik, welcome to the show. How are you guys doing today?
Doing fantastic, Jim. Thanks for having us.
Erik, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Feeling good
Awesome.
and looking forward to talking to you today, Jim.
Awesome. I like that. Guys, let's talk about a little bit of background. David, let's start with you. How did you get into the CRM space? Because your background's very cool, how you got into this. So give us the Cliff Notes version, how you got into SugarCRM here.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Actually, getting into CRM started 30 years ago for me. I spent my first 17 years at Anderson Consulting turned Accenture. And when you're an analyst or a senior, I think the terms have all changed now. You get staffed onto jobs, and someone called me up about a great opportunity to help this brand new software company called Siebel Systems. We implemented, I think, the very first Siebel customer at AMP Incorporated, which was a manufacturer of electrical connectors back in the day, since bought by Tyco in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I locked into it, and it ended up being a really hot space and took off from there.
Awesome. Erik, how about you? How'd you get into this space?
Ironically, very similar to David, I came up through the channel though. Originally, I bought CRM as a salesperson managing a team, and then I ended up going and working for a number of different software vendors. So came up selling software and ultimately started using it and demoing it. And then I liked it so much, I decided I want to do this all the time.
Awesome. So not many CRM providers are known for providing solutions for manufacturers. It's not something that you see a whole lot of. What did SugarCRM see in the manufacturing industry that it said, man, we have a solution for this vertical?
Yeah. Well, the word is success, actually. This company started as an open source platform. It then became a pretty horizontal CRM platform. And we looked 2 or 3 years ago, we looked at what does the data tell us about who our best customers are? When do we win more often? Who stays with us more often? And jumped off the page in terms of the success we have with manufacturers. And when I joined a year and a half ago, I asked why, the annoying why 5 or 6 times, like, why do we win more often there? Why is that our specialization? And there's some really unique things about what Sugar does to support manufacturers that I'd love to go into as we get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get there. Erik, for you, were the other CRM companies that you were selling, were they targeting manufacturers, or is this a newer vertical
I think
for you
some
to
of
be
them
selling
were.
into? Okay.
Some of them were, but Sugar really seemed to be the one that was mostly focused on manufacturing. So that's where we ended up, as David said.
Awesome. So, Dave, where do most manufacturers, I alluded in the intro, that there are some things that manufacturers aren't great at when it comes to sales processes. Where are manufacturers losing opportunities today?
I think being an account manager at a manufacturing company is an incredibly hard job, right? You end up being all things to that customer, right? When there's a problem with the production line and your piece of equipment's help running it, you're the one they call, and you've got to drop everything and focus on that customer for a while, right? So sometimes you're helping your customer with marketing. Sometimes you're talking to them about their existing products. Sometimes you're talking about new innovation that your company's delivering. You get pulled in so many different directions. I think there's also a huge statistic about how much of growth from a given company, a given manufacturer comes from your install base or your existing channel. And again, that's what drives growth, right? So you've got to be really in tune with your current customers, your current distributors, and having insight into that, I think, is where some of that opportunity is lost. Just to expand for another second, I think lots of our customers have thousands or tens of thousands of customers. They have hundreds of distributors. They have 10,000 SKUs. Trying to keep that all straight is incredibly difficult. A lot of our customers have 40-year veterans who have all that in the back of their hands. They know it all inside and out, but that's all changing. The workforce is turning over. They're bringing in new people, trying to help the next generation of account managers know where to go focus and what to go talk about and who their best customers are and where the growth opportunities exist. I think that's really hard for someone who's been in the company for a year or two.
Yeah, I'd agree. And Erik, David, either one of you, what does a typical sales process look like for you guys when you're selling into these manufacturers?
Yeah, it's usually 4 to 6 months. It involves obviously the commercial director or the sales leader. It involves often the IT part of the business. And because so many of these manufacturers run on ERP, the connection to ERP is really important. And the person who's responsible for that, whether it's the CFO or the operations lead, often gets involved as well. But often our customers want to understand how that customer data is going to come together in a way that really helps their account managers. And it usually takes 4 to 6 months to work through that as part of their acquisition process.
Erik, anything to add?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's interesting is it's a complex business, but they come to us and ask for simplicity. They want things to be easy for them to use. Sometimes they have an older sales force, sales user group that needs to do things quickly. And the business is complex, but they want selling to be easy. So we need to find ways to help them do that.
I think that's really smart, Erik. That's exactly what they want, right? Bring some simplicity to an otherwise incredibly complex business.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said that, Erik, I thought of a dozen companies who manufacture extremely complex parts, and they don't even call themselves a machine shop, right? They're an engineering firm is what they call themselves because they're manufacturing one product over the course of 18 months, or the next time they run it, it won't be 18 to 24 months. So these are incredibly complex parts with very long cycle times, right? And manufacturing cycles. They need something in their company to be easy, and they often look to sales for that to be the easy, that proverbial easy button. Am I hitting that right?
Very much so.
Awesome. I think that's totally it. Those businesses are built on people who can manage all that complexity, and they try to abstract it for their customers, and the sellers or their account managers are often trying to communicate in simple ways, right? So the vast understanding of what it takes to go deliver that product and the way in which it's used or bought, there's a big translation layer there. And I think that's important for those people, and it's important for our software.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's ICP of the manufacturer that Sugar is the best fit for?
Yeah, so we focus on 4 things. First, it's manufacturing and wholesale distribution, which in and of itself is an incredibly large category. We understand that. It's usually employers that employ between 250 and call it 5,000 employees, so mid-market companies. It's B2B business sales models, and it's sales use case, right? I often joke that our customer's Indiana, not California, right? It's the industry that powers the economy of this nation and other nations. We serve companies all over the world. We're Birmingham. We're not London. We're Hamburg. We're not Berlin. We're really serving those parts of the economy that powers a lot of industry in the world.
Yeah, you're Bordeaux, not Paris.
There you go. Bordeaux's pretty fancy. We might be Marseille and not Paris. That's okay. There you go.
Fair.
Having just gotten back from France, Jim, I know that you try to use your.
So, how does poor visibility into that customer data affect decision making at the top level?
I think it affects decision making at the frontline level. Well, we've got another customer who sells auto parts for Peterbilt trucks all over the Southeast, right?
Okay.
And their sellers are walking into dealers, they're walking into auto shops. Like, how are they supposed to remember whether that auto shop bought brake pads, shoes, and rotors in the last 6 months or not? It's impossible to stay on top of all the information that comes out of like manufacturing order data or distribution order data, right? So what we try to do is like distill all that and use AI. You don't even really need to know it's AI under the surface, but use AI to see the patterns and tell that seller, hey, these guys used to buy brake pads from you all the time, and it's dropped off over the last 6 months. When you show up, ask them what's going on with brake pads.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. What are the downstream? You talk about the front line, right? And one of the questions, and it could be the same answer, what are the downstream effects on people doing the work? And maybe not just the salespeople, but on the ops side, on the manufacturing side. What's the downstream effects that having this robust data from Sugar
Yeah.
on that manufacturing front line?
I'll ask Erik to chime in because he's talked to so many of our customers and demoing our product. But I think it leads our sellers of those customers to be reactive, right? They're reacting to what's coming at them rather than figuring out like how they want to go approach those customers.
Yeah, I think part of the answer is a lot of organizations are data rich and information poor. They need to be able to get key insights out to the manufacturing reps so that they can make a decision about what to do or what to talk about. When they walk in the building, they need to know what's been bothering the customer or what trending is going on in the organization so that they can make the right moves when they get in the building.
A chance to be proactive, Erik.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. I love it. So if you had to summarize, David, in one sentence or a few sentences, what is the problem statement that SugarCRM exists to solve?
I think there's a 30-year-old promise that CRM helps sellers sell. And I think it's been a product that's helped, I don't know, management manage, but it hasn't really helped sellers sell. And our mission is to go turn that equation on its head and really help. And this is what all management cares about. If I could take in a bell curve, the middle 60 of performance and push it 10 degrees to the right, we'd have incredible results. And that's our mission, to go do that.
Awesome. I love that. That's phenomenal. So at a high level, how does SugarCRM bring structure to all of the chaos that exists when you are data rich and information poor?
I think it's about providing the context for the seller, right? Everyone's talking about AI these days. I joke about the ABCs of intelligence: artificial intelligence, BI or business intelligence, which is a bunch of reports and dashboards. Ultimately, all that needs to give the seller contextual intelligence so they know when they're prepping for a meeting, when they're going out to a visit to a customer, when they're responding to a case, they've got the context to be at their best and be proactive in helping that customer.
And does that help those account executives, those engineering salespeople who may not be great at sales, right? They're great at engineering. Does it help them prioritize the right opportunities instead of just chasing everything out there?
I think it does. I think a lot of people who are great at account management, those engineering account managers, like almost feel like selling's a dirty word. But if you know your customer and you know what they need and you're showing up with the right stuff, it doesn't feel like selling. It feels like solving that customer's problem, which is what an engineering account manager is trying to do in the first place.
Awesome. So, Erik, with your experience talking to so many of the customers of SugarCRM, how is this platform different than how most manufacturers are currently managing their sales processes?
I think probably one of the keys around that is we've put a lot of time and effort into building integrations with ERP systems. And really part of that is sales reps don't want to use ERP systems, and many organizations don't want reps using ERP systems. So it's a fair trade-off that we bring the intelligence of what matters about ERP into CRM. So while they're engaging with the customer, while they're managing the relationship, they're being surfaced the data that matters about what's in ERP, whether it's a sales trend, downturn, or upturn, whether there's some key indicators that need to be surfaced to that rep. So when they do call, they know what to say or what matters to the customer they're calling.
Yeah.
Bottom.
So how exactly does it integrate with the rest of the manufacturer's workflow? You brought up ERP. Does it integrate with the quoting mechanisms or
Yep.
processes, operations, all of that kind of fun stuff? Talk us
Yeah,
through all that.
I describe it as the whole life cycle of quote to cash, right? So to be able to go out and quote accurately for a customer, being able to progress that opportunity, turning it into an order, knowing what's going on with that order status, right? Just because you ordered it doesn't mean it's at your customer's doorstep. Sometimes it's discrete, it's got to be built. Sometimes it's got to be shipped. And then ultimately the customer receives it. You make sure the implementation's gone well. You make sure the invoice has gone out. You make sure the cash is received. So a lot of that's happening in ERP, in the finance system or the manufacturing system. A lot of that's happening in your customer system. That whole life cycle, I think, is what we think about connecting together to help that account manager.
That's awesome. I love that. For someone who's never potentially used a CRM, what's the simplest way to understand what changes when they use SugarCRM?
I think it's having a handle on your portfolio. I think if you're an account manager or a salesperson, you're really managing a portfolio of accounts, portfolio of repurchases, a portfolio of expansion opportunities or new business opportunities. And I think getting your arms around the portfolio and being able to know where to spend your time across what is usually a pretty large territory is what changes when you start using Sugar.
Awesome.
I think another piece of that I would call out is I think of CRM as the corporate memory. It's the place where we remember all the interactions, and ERP manages all the transactions. So who are we talking to? When do we need to talk to them next? Those are really the keys of what a rep needs to do on a daily basis, is stay in touch and keep their finger on the pulse of the customer.
That's totally it, Eric. In fact, I'll give you a quote, Jim. One of our engineering managers said to me at one point that structured data is the language of business and unstructured data is the language of relationships. So building on what Eric said, the back office is all structured data, right? And the front office is emails and conversations and Zoom calls and text messages and all the back and forth that happens between you and your customer. And just a plug for AI, what AI can start to do is make sense of that unstructured data. So you can put it in the context of the overall business.
Awesome. So I've been fortunate enough in my career to manage a few really high performing sales teams. A couple of them, we implemented a CRM system during my tenure there. One of the biggest pushbacks I received when I was leading sales teams was, this is just Big Brother. And I understand that this wasn't necessarily rolled out well by me. That's what that means, is I didn't do a good enough job of sharing the why this is valuable, right? But what is SugarCRM's approach to that, those common pushbacks from the people out in the field?
Yeah, we hear all those pushbacks. I think fundamentally, CRM, the value equation has been upside down, right? So I often show like a seesaw, and the amount of work a seller needs to put in versus the value that they get out is upside down right now, right?
Absolutely.
Your sellers probably block their Friday afternoons to update their CRM so I didn't get in trouble on Monday, right? It feels like an administrative task. It feels like Big Brother. It feels like somebody wants them to be data entry clerks. I've heard all these things. I think what's coming with AI is the ability to turn that value equation upside down and actually provide more value to the seller than you're asking them to contribute to it. And this technology is going to make all that possible, and not in a ask me anything AI way, but more like it's in the workflows that guide sellers to where they ought to go spend their time and energy, right? So I think we're going to see in the next 2 to 3 years what you just described being something that starts to change pretty dramatically.
Yeah. I'll add on to that there's two big brothers. There's George Orwell Big Brother, and then there's your big brother that helps you go down the street and take care of the bully. And if CRM is implemented correctly, it becomes your big brother that's got your back. It helps you, support you. It's there for you when you need it. And that's the difference in paradigm of how you need to approach CRM when it comes to this.
I've never heard that one, Eric. I love that.
That's awesome. That you just helped me name this episode and created one hell of a clip, Eric. Well done.
Well done.
Part of why I asked that is exactly that upside downness of the paradigm, right? The salespeople that reported to me often had 20 to 30 years under their belt as account managers, right? They knew those accounts better than anybody else. And they knew what was discussed the previous time. So these CRM systems weren't doing anything for them. It was giving me visibility to sales pipeline. It was giving me visibility to what they were doing and activity levels. It literally did nothing for them. Does Sugar take that dynamic and make it different for those sellers that have a lot of time and experience in the field?
Every single sales manager is going to want to know what's going on in the pipeline. They're going to want to get visibility to what's happening. So that'll always be there. Let me just admit up front, right? I often say it gives us in management the illusion of control. We actually think we can influence the result because we can see it. We can ask follow-up questions. If you ask the sellers, how often do your pipeline review calls result in a better approach on how you approach the deal? I think good managers really do help coach and help those sellers know where to focus. But we've got to get beyond, it's necessary to provide that visibility, but not sufficient. We got to get beyond it and actually guide sellers directly and help them figure out how to go cut through the noise and find the signal in their territory, in their install base to really drive retention and growth results.
Awesome.
And a little piece of behind that is the way we've designed it with, again, the ERP integration and the AI is really CRM needs to become more of a mode of consumption. Sure, there's still a data entry element of managing your calls and activities, but it needs to be more consumption based. So what is it telling you that you didn't know or that you need to know? And that's what we're going to show you today.
Awesome. That was a hell of a transition. Are you ready to demo this platform for me?
Did I do that to myself?
You did. I mean, there was
perfectly.
Yeah, there was no better natural transition than you doing it yourself. So, Erik, I think if you hit that button down at the bottom there and hit screen, you should be ready to rock and roll.
A manufacturer rep out on the road and in the office, working from home, wherever it is, it's a tough job. And you have to be the account manager. You have to be the babysitter. You have to help the distributors. You have to help the customers. So what we're going to see today is, as David mentioned, hearing the signal through the noise. How do I tune into what's going on a given day? And how do I see what's most important? So we're going to really cover three main areas. It's starting my day, what I call coffee and KPIs, or what's important for me. Then we're going to go into account focus, what's important for the customer. And third, we're going to go into progressing the sales, as David talked about, quote to cash. How do we transact? How do we close a deal and what happens? And how does that help us not use ERP, but continue using CRM the way we do it every day? So you'll see a convergence between what happens in CRM and how it gets fed into the ERP system.
Okay.
So jumping right into coffee and KPIs, we're going to talk about clarity. How do we figure out that what's important for me? So looking at the dashboard, we see some tiles across the top. And really what this is, the intelligence of the system combing through the data and prompting me to what's important. So if I have some accounts here that have opportunities that are stalled, I can drill down onto that and learn more about who are those accounts and even drill into more details to find out what's been going on or what's not been going on. There's no related activities found in this particular instance. That's not a good sign. So maybe I need to go down here and schedule something, or I can go down to the next one and see what's going on here. So again, these are stalled. There's no activity. That's a pretty clear indicator that where we need to pick up the ball and run. Versus if we go over here and see other accounts or new leads that have come in, I can pick and choose what gets presented to me and how do I draw down on the important information and make decisions about what I'm going to do on a given day. I've got some new leads. I'm going to make some phone calls. I can see things that have recently occurred, whether it's through me or through marketing, and I can schedule my next step right here. So again, the idea is haven't even touched the keyboard yet, and I've already learned a few things about deals I need to work on and leads I need to go pursue.
Wow.
So go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick, you mentioned marketing and marketing activities in there. And that's something we haven't even touched on yet is marketing activities in relation to CRM. And like I said, I've used a couple of different platforms in my day. That was never really brought into that picture. How does SugarCRM bring the marketing activities and those MQLs, marketing qualified leads, into that sales funnel for the seller?
In a couple different ways. We'll show you some of that, but primarily we have part of our product does email marketing, website monitoring, and landing pages for lead collection. And when it brings those leads in, it will start an email marketing campaign to that person or to that organization based on what they're interested in. And then it will surface the audit trail of that individual. Where have they been on the website? What do they download? And what email marketing have they received? So again, much like these tiles across the top, we can see what their interactions and engagement look like through marketing so we can make decisions about how to engage with that consumer. And how does the system give us information or tell us what's important? In here, you see a list of leads. In this instance, leads are actually recommendations. David and I mentioned earlier ERP integration. So in some organization, leads are people. In some organizations, leads are actually opportunities to do business. So in here, you see the recommendations are being generated based on order history. So we can see different companies that we're doing business with, and we can see what it's suggesting we offer that customer. And we really, most importantly, can see the why. Why is this important? How did you come to this decision without me so that I can then make a decision about how to engage with the customer? And I can see the details of how the system has arrived at that detail, how it's made that decision. And then I can even go in here and action that. So by drilling down on it, I can see what I should be offering to a particular customer. I can see the why. And then using these action buttons, I can send them an email. I can schedule a phone call. Or if I don't have time to do it right now, I can schedule a task for myself for later. Or if I think it's a mistake, I can even dismiss this and the system will learn that if that's not appropriate product for that customer, it won't keep offering it to me because I've dismissed it.
And
And
this
again,
is
go
this
ahead.
is AI in practice, right? We're
Yeah.
recognizing patterns within data. We're learning from the accepted and rejected recommendations that are coming to the sellers. It continues to get better and better as a business uses it in the context of its business. And it doesn't feel like AI. It just feels like the system coaching me or my big brother telling me what to look out for when I head off to ninth grade.
Exactly.
And I love how stupid simple you guys made it with the colored buttons up there. That those four colors are stupidly simple. And I'm not trying to like dismiss the work that you did into making the UI excellent on here, but that's just simplicity in its finest form.
I agree. We really strive to make it really easy for the seller. We call it a beautiful seller experience. That's what our CPO, our chief product officer, would call it. He wants to deliver a beautiful seller experience.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, Eric, continue.
Yeah. One last thing I just before we leave this dashboard window, I just wanted to call out too that one of the challenges that organizations have and sales managers managing a large distributed sales force is a lot of times they just want to ask a question and the last thing you want to do or no one wants is have to run down the hall, find an IT guy or find a system admin and ask them to write some query. I need the answer right now. I have to pick up the phone or I need to jump into a meeting. So by drilling over here onto the AI window, we can go in here and just type a natural language query straight in. Show me my pipeline analysis for my team. I don't want to have to go figure out where's the report, how do I find it, is it available, is it a spreadsheet, which nook and cranny is it hidden into, or where is it saved and stored? So by typing a simple sentence of give me the answer to the question I have, as easy as Google, it comes back with a report. It shows me statistics. I can mouse over these areas. I can drill in for data. And the summary tells me what's going on as a manager. I know what's happening. And if I want more detailed analysis, I can drill down and see more information. So how easy is that when you can just ask a question to the system and it literally gives you a report with all the answers that you want? And that's what everybody wants and that's what everybody needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very cool.
So that's pretty much the front end of the what's in it for me or what's important for me, what I want to do is move over to the second segment, which is account focus, and really figure out a little bit about how do we figure out what's important for the customer? How do we walk in with confidence? And how do we not consume information without having to build everything? Now, we have buttons to make capturing data easy, but what has already occurred? Who else has interacted with the customer without me even knowing? We have a big organization, different people talk to the customer. Right over here on the right-hand column, we have an AI summary. What that summarization does is it goes out, it reads everything that's occurring in the system with the different people in the company, with the different people at the customer, and writes me a summary to tell me what's most important. This is incredibly important, whether I'm a manager dropping into an account, if I'm a new hire, or maybe we change a territory. I need a quick read. I need to know what's going on before getting into a whole account. I tell a story that is true. One of the sales reps at our organization invited me to a meeting with 7 minutes to spare before the meeting started. I read the account summary and I knew enough about the account to not only know who they were, but actually that they had come and shopped us previously and gone to no decision because they didn't have a budget. So that summary, me reading it in the 7 minutes I had, actually changed the conversation we had with the customer, which is exactly what you want. You need to feed people the important information.
And Eric, I'll just add here that for a software organization, we tend to be opportunity focused. I think in manufacturing, it's an account focus that matters, really understanding that account, whether it's a distributor or an end user. And this view allows you to get a complete sense of what's happening at that account. Maybe you haven't been out there for a month and you just want to check in. Are there any new cases they've called into our tech support team? Is there a specialist who's gone out and talked to them on a certain product? Whatever it may be. Again, hopefully stupid simple, Jim.
Yeah. I can see that. The question I have is, I can see where these AI summaries would be valuable, especially when you're selling virtually, right? If you're selling via Zoom, you're selling via email, things of that nature. What about those in-person B2B conversations? How is the system capturing those conversations and being able to provide a summary of what actually took place?
Today, we do ask sellers to take notes and document stuff after they've gone out and done that. We're really close to being able to consume all sorts of unstructured data from WhatsApp, Zoom, voice memos, whatever it may be, so that account manager can get in their car after the conversation they've had. Maybe we prompt them with 4 or 5 questions about what just happened during our interaction. They talk and we consume it and turn it into structured data that helps drive the business.
Okay, awesome. Could a seller, I have one of the Plod notes, just AI transcription type software. It connects to the back of my phone, and I take it into sales meetings and I tell people, hey, I've got this note taker, so I don't have to actually physically take notes. At the end, I can share the summary of the transcript, whatever, right? Could I hypothetically take something like that and upload it directly into SugarCRM?
Eric, we're doing some of that today, aren't we?
You could, yeah, or even better, again, to answer your question about the easy button, was here's a list of everything I recently viewed that we've been looking at so far today. And if I tap down on there, you see we've got the buttons right here in the screen. And if I just click add a meeting or add a note, I don't even need to do the transcription because in this case, I'm using an Android device and I can just start talking with the microphone on and it'll just start recording whatever my notes are about the meeting that I just had. So if we had a manufacturing meeting, we're talking about the next best order with the customer, it just happens.
Is there any thing that would prevent a seller from just having that transcription or that note-taking service on during the whole meeting and having it then the entire meeting conversation uploaded directly into the system?
Yeah. There are other ways. Once you create a note here, we can go under the details and we can attach, if you do have a recorded file, we could attach that file as well. So I guess it comes down to what's the best and right technology. And I think we'd probably help you, depending on the circumstance and the requirements, we'd help you figure out what's the best path to go.
Very cool. Awesome. Again, sorry to derail this demo.
It's okay.
And that was probably dead obvious, but Eric was showing you our mobile device there and how you interact with that.
Good ad,
Yeah.
David.
So CRM goes everywhere you go, and it's right there with you. And no, you don't have to type. You can talk right into the system is the idea. It also helps you do maps and gets you to the local driving directions based on where to go to the next location and everything. But again, going back to where we were with account focus and talking about ERP integration also, once we noodle through the summary, it does tell you to take some next steps. Again, another one of the obvious kind of easy buttons is what do I want to do with the next steps? Do I want to schedule a call or an email or a meeting? And if I schedule a call here, it's going to take those suggestions, that recommendation that it's making, and puts it right into my call so I can recall what it's telling me to do. And down below, if I really need to see the details of who's been doing what besides me, I can see Sally spoke to William, and she's been engaged with this account quite a bit. So I could maybe go follow up with her now that I see she's got a number of meetings and phone calls that she's held. So account management gets to be pretty easy between the summary and the timeline view. But what else happens at accounts is they buy stuff. And I always need to have my finger on the pulse, as we were talking about earlier. So when we go look at the top here, I can go right over to the ERP info. And this is a bit of a summarization again of data. It's actually calculated fields where it's looking at year to date, month to date. Sometimes just my finger on the pulse is enough to get a sense for, are we achieving the right direction with that customer and seeing where they were last year, or lifetime value of the customer. Just some of that data coming out of ERP gives me some wherewithal on whether we're in a good place with them. But sometimes I still want more. And down below, you see the recommendations telling me things I should offer them. But I can also even get into trend analysis. And this is where we can go in and see the data coming out of ERP.
Now, in this use case, Eric, it's probably a RevOps leader or an analyst who's going directly into this engine to look at things. The sellers don't need to do this. They just get the results that Eric already showed you.
So when we go into the sales eye screen from within this Shawnee service, it again gives us the finger on the pulse with details. So what don't sales reps want is they don't want to get a list of all the invoices that came out of their customer base. They don't want to look at all the invoices. They don't want an ERP integration that tells them all that data. What they want is alerts. They want to know if something's gone wrong or gone sideways. They've stopped buying a certain product. Their spend is down. What does month over month look like? Or can we go over and look at variance? How does ERP sales order history data that I may not even be aware of completely help me seed a conversation? Is by looking at the variance inquiry, I can go in here as a manufacturing rep and see that their copper washer purchases are trending down. Now I have something to talk about when I walk in and say, hey, you're down on copper washers and seal rings. Help me understand that. Is there something wrong with our relationship here? Or are you just not using copper washers anymore? And that way I can have a data-driven conversation that tells me about something. I don't want to read a report and scan through invoices. I just want to know the top level, what's important to me and what's important to the customer.
Yeah, so as Eric wraps up his demo here, Jim, I think what we try to do, and lots of our manufacturing customers will talk about this, so like we send order reports off to the sellers. They can just pull up the attachment in email and read through all the order data. I don't know if your sellers did this, Jim, but they're not going to be scanning through order data all the time. They just want the punchline. And what we're able to do with the technology we showed you today is tell them what the result of all that order data is, who's not reordering, who is reordering, where there's opportunity where a customer hasn't bought a product that other customers that look just like them always buy, right? So we're trying to eliminate the needs for reports that back office people send to front office people. What we're trying to do is tell them the results of all those reports.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. So a couple key things here just to wrap up that we wanted to talk about. We mentioned ERP integration. So in this case, we are looking at an opportunity of a bulk order. Down below, we have my final draft of a quote. And speaking of the ERP integration, where we can do things is in this case, we're looking at the final draft quote. If we get an agreement with the customer, right here, we can simply change this to a confirmed order and it will send that transaction into ERP provided I check confirmed and check the checkbox and hit save, we can now migrate that order across, so whoever on RevOps or the order desk can handle that piece of data. We don't need to now rekey all that information of what we've been selling and offering to the customer, along with any associated discounts. It's in there and it moves across. And then really the last stretch here is, where else do we live as sales reps, is in our inbox. And all I have to do is click into my inbox. And by reading this email from Kim, I can see she's having a problem, but I can also look right here at Sugar Connect inside of CRM, or excuse me, inside of Outlook. And it's showing me the CRM record. I can go in and see Kim. I can see her organization. I can look at what's going on. And if I navigate to the next email, it just shifts over to the next record and shows me Sam. So reading
we have
email,
customers who live out of their inbox. They live in Outlook and they're accessing Sugar through Outlook, right? So we just try to make it easy. We want to show up wherever they work and wherever they are.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep. So in a browser, on the mobile phone, in your inbox. And really the keys that you saw today was starting my day with what's important for me, moving into what's important for the customer, and then moving things through to the sale, and then managing a relationship through the inbox. That's pretty much all the things that the manufacturing reps who come to us ask for.
That's amazing. I love it. What do you think, David, the most underrated growth lever is in manufacturing right now?
I think it's having insight into your install base, like truly understanding what's going on. I don't know, when you ran a sales team, how many accounts did your reps cover, Jim?
They had between 200 and 400 apiece. So I had 17
And how was the
sales
product
reps.
catalog? What kind of catalog were you serving?
Yeah.
So how do you manage 400 accounts across a catalog that looks like that and have any idea what's going on in your business? You end up reacting all the time, right? I think the opportunity, and I think AI is going to unleash all of this for us. I think it's going to allow manufacturers to leapfrog back up to modern in a lot of places they haven't adapted technology as quickly, is to make sense of 400 accounts across 10,000 SKU catalog and know what to go talk to a customer about. I think that unlocks a huge amount of growth opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Erik, David, what haven't I asked you that you want to share with the audience?
I think you've covered it. It's been a great conversation. I love your background and the way you connected it to some of your experiences as a sales manager, Jim.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Erik, anything I left out from your side, man?
No, I think we really got to it, and I really appreciate it. I think what you saw today is the things that we do. That's our natural mode of operation, is working with manufacturers and helping give them value and help them sell better and easier is really the key.
Awesome. David, one question I left out, it's the icebreaker question that I have for this show. If SugarCRM had a mascot, what would it be?
Oh, man. I'll tell you this. Our new conversational AI product is called the Sugar Cube.
Okay.
Again, sweet, easy to access, easy to use, right? That's what we've been talking about. So it's not exactly a mascot, but there you go.
I dig it. I've had people say a propeller, right? So there's no right or wrong answers on any of my shows. And so Sugar Cube is the right mascot for you guys. I love it. All right. Thank you both so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. Erik, great demo. David, great conversation, man. The first time we connected, I knew we were going to have a great conversation. We really hit it off. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still here, which most of you probably are, please go check out SugarCRM if you want to better understand your customers, how to prioritize the right opportunities, and really how to grow without adding chaos to something that could be so simple. SugarCRM has made it that simple. So until next time, guys, have a great rest of your day. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time.